Earlier in the week, we were speaking with Quinn Eaker. His property, the Garden of Eden, was the subject of a SWAT raid. They attempted to violate his property rights, saying that he was growing a marijuana factory there. And basically, because he was someone that knew his constitutional rights and how to apply them, he was able to turn the law back around and establish it how it should be, for the people, by the people. Okay, Quinn, so let's get into how people can empower themselves and actually apply the laws that are there and meant to protect them.
You know, it's really sad. It's really sad what the current state of affairs have come to, because, you know, back in the day when our country was so great, the reason why it was so great is because the government was there to serve and protect the people. And the government employees, the public servants, were there to be the servants of that, of that. So, you know, the reason why our country was so great is because we had freedom. It was, it was by the people, for the people. And, in the beginning, government officials were, they were like heroes. You know, back in the day, the sheriff was the greatest man in the town, the person that everyone could trust and everyone could rely on. And, back in the day, the mayors, were the people that everyone trusted the most and liked the most and had the best interest of the town or village or community at hand. And the only thing that the government did was, just serve and protect the people's rights. Well, now, we're in a situation where basically the government's only job now is to tax, license, and regulate everything. And that's why now, we've got obviously all of this blatant violation of rights happening all over the place. We're not the only ones here. Mm-hmm. And that's part of why I started studying the law myself, is because it became very apparent to me that the government isn't actually following the law. And if I can't enforce the law, then it's definitely not going to be enforced for me. So I took it upon myself, and actually it used to be your responsibility. It used to be known that it's your responsibility to know the law. And when you became an 18-year-old man, if you couldn't, handle yourself in court, you weren't considered a man. And everyone knew what their rights were. Everyone knew how to handle themselves in court. Everyone knew the law, because that was just a natural part of living a free, responsible, honorable life. And now almost nobody knows the law. Right. And part of the reason why is because they've created this super complicated system of new law, which is basically all statutes and codes. So there's over 8 million laws in the United States, most of which are all just statutes and codes and, regulations and all sorts of crap that doesn't actually apply to, free men and women. It applies to fictional entities. It applies to businesses. It applies to beings in their official capacities. Exactly. So you had been fighting the jurisdiction and the city codes that they were trying to enforce on you since February, things that were applied to your property, and you were able to supersede those rules basically with the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution. So what is some advice that you have to other homeowners that might be dealing with some of these same things? Right. Well, there's a lot of really simple things that we can begin to research, that we can begin to ask questions about. Anytime you're going to deal with the law, you always want to be real sure. You always want to be real careful. The law is not designed to just throw around. It's not like some, backyard argument where you're like, what, huh? Yeah, what? It's supposed to be very deliberate, very conscious, very concise. So of course there's an in-depth spectrum to be aware of in regards to the law before you really want to, begin utilizing it. But very simple stuff, which is that, for example, the supreme law of our land is the Constitution of the United States. And the Bill of Rights very specifically, dictates that, our rights, which we're born with. See, the Constitution doesn't give us rights, right? A free man can't be given rights, otherwise you're not free. They can be taken away. Right. See, the Constitution recognizes that we're born free. We're born with these rights. And the Constitution is simply the document which says these are what our rights are, and our government and our government officials are here to make sure that all of these rights are upheld at all points in time. And all government officials must swear an oath of office. And this is a really important part of the whole puzzle. because they swear under oath that they are going to serve and protect the people and the Constitution of the United States, which means that if at any point in time they do or are part of anything that is not upholding the people and or the constitutional rights, they're in violation of their oath of office, which is perjury and treason. So it's a really big deal. That used to be death. That used to be the death penalty. So it used to be very, very serious, and government officials took their oaths of office extremely serious. Now, most government officials don't even really know what their oath of office is. So oaths of office are really important, and that's one of the ways that you can allow government officials to know that that they have an oath of office, and that that they have sworn an oath to serve and protect you and the Constitution, which means that if they don't do that, they are guilty of perjury and or treason. So that's a really good way to let them know that you know how to hold them accountable, you know what your rights are. The Bill of Rights, like I said, a really important document, a really, really important document. Everyone should know what those are. We have a right to our spiritual path. There can be no dictated belief system, right? We all get to choose what we believe in or what we don't believe in. We all have a right to be secure in our property, in our person, in our effects. We have the right to free speech, the freedom of press, to bear arms. These are all really important rights of which our country was founded upon, and that's why we thrived. Contract law is also really important, and that's what we used to establish the power with the city. So we have our rights, and we've already claimed those. Our rights are inalienable. So all we have to do is establish on the record that that exists. See, most people, it gets a little complicated once we start going into this, but most people are actually living in their official capacities. They're living as corporate fictions. And the way I can prove that is that, on your driver's license or birth certificate or social security card, your name's going to be printed in all caps. And you only print corporate entities in all caps. If you know proper English grammar, you know that the proper spelling for a living, breathing man or woman is, first capital letter, lowercase. So they've gotten people to operate in their official capacities. That's where all these 8 million laws start applying. They don't apply to living, breathing men, yet living, breathing men and women are acting like they do apply. So statutes and codes, for example, that's not real law. That's meant to govern business and, beings in their official capacities. So we sent them a lawful notification. In that lawful notification, we said, for the record, we know that we have these rights. We know that these rights are protected for us pursuant to the Constitution of the United States of America, which is the supreme law of the land. We also know that there are no laws, statutes, codes, ordinances, regulations that can supersede the supreme law. So what that means is that if there's a statute which, they do exist and they're written, so like a statute will say, you're not allowed to have tall grass. Well, if that gets in the way of my inherent inalienable rights, then it's void ab initio, because it can't supersede the supreme law. What we did is we sent this document saying that we have these rights, and unless you can prove that we don't, and unless you can prove that you have authority over these rights, and or you are aware of a law that supersedes these rights, which there isn't, there can't be, then under penalty of perjury, let us know what that is. So, we send them this lawful notification, and we claim on the record what our rights are, and then we give them the opportunity to rebut that. If you have lawful information, then we're happy to hear that. If you don't, then you agree that we are free, we can do whatever we want. So they tried to cite all sorts of statutes and codes and ordinances that interfere with our inalienable rights. And so what that means is that those statutes and codes and ordinances now are void ab initio, because they can't supersede our inalienable rights.
Right, and you were also saying that it's important to understand, I guess, sort of legalese rather than street slang. You can't really write a petition or anything like that, you have to use the proper terminology?
Right. Everything in law must be written in law and, be defined by law and must conform to law. So, there's a huge difference between a word that you think you know what it means and what most people would agree it means, and then what it actually means in court, or what it actually means in lawful terms. So there's actually a dictionary which is called Black's Law Dictionary. And the Black's Law Dictionary has the lawful definition, meaning the definition that's used in court or in lawful matters. And, they've tricked the people very purposely with this in many ways. So the word understand, for example, is one of the most commonly used devastating words of power. The word understand, according to the Black's Law Dictionary, means I stand under and I agree. So the first thing that every judge is going to ask you when you go to court, say for a code compliance issue or a traffic ticket, they're going to say, do you understand the charges? And what people think that means is, do you comprehend what the charges are? And so people say, yes, I understand the charges. And as soon as you do that, you've already given them jurisdiction, you've already given them authority, and you've already agreed to those charges. So you've already lost. And, it's just designed that way. So you have to know what the words actually mean in law in order to use them properly, in order to write documents properly. So in a way, it is very easy to do the things that I'm talking about, but it also definitely requires some education. But really, you have to ask yourself, how much longer can we go not knowing about the law? And how much worse is it going to get if we, the people, don't start enforcing the law?
So how do you go about learning and understanding your rights and then being able to apply them? Is that really difficult? And is it a difficult thing to grasp without going to law school?
Well, our rights are very simple, and that part is very easy to grasp. A common law, which, it's called common law because it's, for the common man, for the common woman. It's relatively simple. Due process of law is relatively simple. Like I said, they've overcomplicated law on purpose. Now, part of the way they've done that is with what you call attorneys. Now, attorneys, they're, see, it's this whole part of the whole scam, because attorneys are just trained in the bar. And what they do is, you don't have to have a license to practice law. It's one of our rights to practice law. So what attorneys are doing is they're doing legalese. And it's all the complicated crap, really, that you don't need. And it's just all overcomplicated stuff, of which they've made it that way on purpose. When the attorney passes the bar exam, they actually swear an oath of fealty to the crown, to the British crown.
Jeez.
Yeah. So that's just a fact. So they're already.
I did not know that.
Right. They're not representing. They're not representing your true rights. They're not representing your true power. They're not representing, the constitutional supreme law. They're following the processes that are required for them to follow according to the bar. And that's why they refer to the judge as your honor. Right? You don't have to refer to the judge as your honor, right? Because the judge works for you, right? The judge is my public servant, right? In fact, it very specifically says in our supreme law that you shan't ever refer to a government official with any reference of nobility whatsoever. So, it just shows you that they're all in bed with each other in this whole big scam.
No wonder they don't want people to, they try so hard to confuse us, and they do not want us to be empowered to know our rights, to understand, well, to stand under or to get it. So we know where their authority lies, and we really do have the power. It's just that we as people need to reclaim that power and understand how to enforce it and how to apply it. You actually offer free classes, is that right, there at the Garden of Eden?
Yeah, we have gatherings and meetups from time to time where we talk about the law, we talk about our rights, we talk about most of it really, it's all mental, because it's really hard because we've been raised since children to be scared of authority, to be scared of the police officers and the law, and to sort of like, oh God, it's the law. And so we've got this just, mental conditioning that's really hard to break through. And we've been living our whole life where it's like, oh, we have to have a license for everything. Well, you can't license, rights that we already have. So it's all just a bogus sham. Like, you don't have to have a driver's license to travel between space and time. You don't have to have a license plate to operate an automobile.
Right, or pay taxes. We've just bought into this whole system.
Nope, you do not have to pay taxes. It's very, very, it's very easy actually to enforce the truth once you know the truth. But you got to get it through your head, and that conditioning is really hardcore. So most of the work really is just sort of like getting it through your head of, oh my God, the whole world I know has been a lie. Mm-hmm. That's the real crazy part.
Well, yeah, and it's scary to think that we have that much power, and all it takes is just one little paradigm shift. Yep.
And that's why I'm doing this interview right now, and that's why I'm doing a lot of other radio interviews, is because it's time. It's time that paradigm shift happens, that people wake up and realize, oh my God, we are the power, because we are the power. And it's been that way since this country was founded. We the people, for the people, by the people, for the people. That's the supreme law of the land, and it always has been, and it always will be. So, we just have to wake up and claim that power and enforce that power, and the whole world changes.
Woo! Well, I'm feeling empowered.
Yeah, well, there's hope.
There is hope. There is something we can do. It really is not too late. It's just we got to get ourselves out of the confusion. Mm-hmm. So, well, Quinn, thank you so much for your time and for everything that you're doing to be self-sustainable and empower others to be sustainable and to kind of be free of the system.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your appreciation, and, we're doing this for ourselves. We're doing it for everybody else. And, we're not here to change people, and we can't really change people, but there's a lot of awesomeness to potentially tune into here and glean from.
Absolutely. Well, keep in touch. Let us know what's going on over there in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, keep up the good work. I appreciate it, Leanne.
Thanks, Quinn. All right, well, that is very powerful stuff. You see why it is so important that we all understand our rights and how to exercise them. That's the key there. You can actually learn more about the classes at intothegardenofeden.com. And also, any purchase that you make at the InfoWars store will come with a free Citizens Rulebook. In there, you'll learn all about jury trials, your rights as a juror, as well as understanding the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So go ahead, and any purchase, you can learn how to protect yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Join us here every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Central. For the InfoWars Nightly News, I'm Leanne McAdoo.